Hey guys, what's up? It's Schlot, bringing you another episode of Car Rides Wit SLA. And I'm a little bit worried about today's episode because we have to use my iPhone 14 Plus because I forgot to charge the 7 Plus and it had needed to be charged, so this morning I look at it and it's only at 11%, which I believe is not enough to make it. It could be, because I did immediately hop it on the charger and get it to, I think, 16%. But I had noticed right before I was going, so I couldn't really do anything about it. And maybe if I put the brightness on 0, then it would work. But I'm not really sure. And the first thing I'm noticing is that mic input gain issue may not be the case on the 14 Plus, because my levels look a lot better. Usually it just seems too sensitive on the 7 Plus. So I wonder if the newer phone just somehow, I don't know how it would really know what to do, but I guess it just knows what to do better or something like that. I honestly have no idea. And here we are. I hope that everything is recording properly. At first, it wasn't detecting it. I didn't know if I had to download the app or not, but it seemed like, I don't know if it was coincidental. I downloaded the app and then it started working, but I didn't even open the app, so maybe I didn't need to download the app. But I'm just worried it might not sound right or something, because I never opened the app and actually adjusted any of the settings, so it is what it is. Hopefully the recording still comes out good. We will find out, I guess. But yeah, so we're making pretty bad time because we ended up getting out of the house a lot later than I thought because of all that fiasco. Now, if you're saying right now, Schla, you're not usually unprepared, you're not usually forgetful. Well, I'm juggling so many things in my brain, it's kind of difficult to not be. So that's just kind of where we're at. And yesterday I was dealing with trying to get the SSD installed in my computer, which ended up being more complicated than it should have been, just because of the motherboard I have, the MSI Z890 ACE. The top M2 slot has this plastic piece that you really could easily miss, and it's supposed to hold down an M2 if it's too loose for their system, because they don't use screws for the M2. They use this like pop in, pop out. I don't even know how to describe it. Like nub. It's like a nub that you push in and push out to get the SSD in and out. But for some reason, the one on the top is really tiny. And I'm not sure why, but the one on the top is really tiny. And so you have to shift around this plastic piece that's almost underneath the nub. So I never had even noticed it before working in that case. And I didn't notice it for the first good while of me working on the thing, on the SSD. I didn't even see it there. And I still don't really understand, but I eventually figured out that you have to shift that tiny plastic piece around so that it holds the SSD down slightly more, and then you're able to reattach the heatsink on top. I'm sorry, I didn't even explain that. The heatsink was not latching into place. That was the problem. The heat sink wouldn't latch, so I guess that plastic piece has to be holding it down or something. I don't know. But anyways, then I got that done, and then I tried to install Windows, and by the time I did all that, it probably took around 2 hours, really, to get Windows and try to start installing some more of my default programs and things like that. So that's all I really got, and that's kind of pushing it too. I say this a lot. I've said it before. I'm working a lot. I honestly barely spend any time at home because of how much I'm working. I don't know that a lot of people would be able to handle what I'm doing, because I'm not also the type of person I am. There's lots of things I'm just not able to get to now because of work. So I don't know if it'll always be like this, but when you're working into the 50s hours each week, and you have to remember, when you say that, you can really tack on an additional 2.5, because you're still there, you're just not getting paid for some reason. I've already talked about how I just completely, that does not make any sense. Yes, you should get credit for taking a 30-minute lunch. You should not have to clock out to take your lunch. It does not make any sense, because if we have a standard of a 40-hour work week, it does not count as not working to take a lunch. 40 hours should be 40 hours sharp, and everybody should be entitled to a paid 30-minute lunch break. I do not understand why it has to be that way. It makes absolutely no sense. You can still clock in and clock out. That's fine, but you should get paid for that time. I do not understand why I get gypped 2.5 hours each week because of lunch. Think about how ridiculous that is. Please think about how ridiculous that is. 2.5 hours for someone making $15 an hour. It's $37.50 each week. That's kind of a lot. It doesn't sound like too much, but seriously, in this day and age too, with how strapped people are, if I could be making an extra $40, and then after taxes it's closer to low 30s, but still, let's just be conservative about it. An extra $30 net, that's a pretty big boost every week. That's $120 a month. My company's robbing me of $100 a month. That is definitely a pretty good amount of money. And I'm there. I'm working. So I do not understand why. The other thing that's annoying too, and I don't know if it's like this in every state, but you also have to take the lunch. So if I didn't take a lunch, I don't even know, I could get in trouble, right? Because they want you, it's supposed to be a regulation, the company has to give people lunch breaks. That's kind of the idea. So I don't even think I could, because when I was first working, that's immediately what I thought about. I was immediately thinking, let me just not take a lunch and just have that extra 30 minutes. Why would I, because that's just how I am. I'm not. And so, yeah, it's crazy. It's insane. I don't know why more people are not doing anything about that, but that's definitely policy that I would try to implement to the best of my ability, for sure. I think it would be super helpful to people. super duper helpful. And it makes absolutely no sense. So when I say I'm working 51 hours a week or 52 hours a week, it's really 53 and a half, which is, it's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy to like that I'm doing. I mean, most people do not do that. So, but I think I've said it before, given the state of the economy and my appreciation for higher end things, it's kind of what I have to do. I don't know. I don't really get paid enough. 15 an hour is really, it just doesn't cut it anymore. We definitely need a $20 an hour minimum wage. And the thing is, though, with the minimum wage is I don't believe that the minimum wage is exclusively the problem. I think that it's other factors going on. Because some country, or at least, I'm not super read up on the topic, but I thought even the Scandinavian countries, they don't have a minimum wage, and then things are still better there. So I don't know. It's you might not need to enact a minimum wage. I don't know if that's kind of putting tape on a wound, essentially. I have a feeling that's kind of what a federal minimum wage is, but I don't know enough about wage regulation to know what the correct policy is at this point. But I'm in agreement with policies that help us bring that up, because it just doesn't make any sense at this point. Now, I don't know, because I don't want to say that's something I agree with. It probably is. But I think there has to be certain conditions. If somebody's a child, you probably don't have to pay them. Like if they're under 18, I think there should be a different minimum wage for under 18, under 25, etc. You know what I mean? I think that's a thing that makes sense. So I think you should get paid differently based on different things like that. I don't know if everybody agrees with that, but I kind of feel that way. Because especially under 18, it could still be reasonable. It doesn't have to be like crazily low, but I feel like a $20 minimum wage for a lot of areas is definitely necessary now. At least that's just how much somebody needs to make. I don't know about, I don't want to get, because I've heard counter arguments about minimum wage, but because the whole point is if the economic situation is so bad that a company can't do it, then I don't see what the advantage is of pushing it in. Well, see, it has, because that's what it comes down to. It has to be conjunct with other things, because the regulation, I don't think it's about minimum wage. I think it's about having to force more equal pay. Because if you just change an hourly minimum wage, that's sort of a arbitrary metric. Because, $20 an hour, but then this is what the companies do. So it's like, okay, we're going from 15 to 20 an hour minimum wage. Now a company's just going to give you 35 hours instead of 40. You see what I mean? That's why the whole minimum wage thing, I guess I don't know how it works. Maybe it is corrected for that. I'm not sure. But I kind of feel like it could just be a loophole, because I heard that was an issue. They just give less hours. So it has to be more of a direct compensation. But hey, I'm talking about this stuff, and like I was saying yesterday, I don't know what the point is really, because at the end of the day, I do believe that we're just going to things will get worse for workers. I see no motivation for the vibes and the upcoming era that we're entering, why rich people would really have any sympathy, any significant sympathy towards people like that. And, I just don't see it happening. I think that opportunity has been long missed for improving worker conditions, and it's been decades long of a thing. And it's been decades long of a chipping away. The thing is, though, a lot of people do talk about revolution, and I honestly just don't know that that's really going to happen. I always kind of thought if there was going to be another revolution, that could change things. But really, I'm not certain of that really at all at this point. I just don't see people really revolting. As much as people complain, I just feel like people are still too comfortable, and that's kind of why the abuse happens, right? I think rich people kind of know that the system can be abused in the way it is, and people are still very contained because of their phones. I mean, everybody has an addiction now. So I don't really know. It's a horrible situation, but I just don't see why rich people are going to care, or how enough people are going to be able to execute a political movement to truly topple what's going on. And so that's kind of what I was really wanting to talk about. I don't know. I got into this stuff, right, because I was complaining about my hours. I got into this stuff because of the topic of yesterday, and how I just wanted to make sure that the way I came across is good, because I do feel quite upset about the impending problems that are coming about. I don't know. I just feel like, though, I have to let be what is going to be, if that makes any sense. And some people could say that's negligent, and that maybe I should be speaking out more, and I guess I will speak out, but I feel like I'm at the point now where there is just this natural order and natural flow to things, and I don't really know how else to describe it or explain it. You can't really, me as one person, I just don't know that I'm going to be able to change anything. I guess that's what I'm getting at. I used to think that. I used to always think like, well, there's all these, and this is when I was a teenager too. Well, there's all these problems, and I could really get in there and fix them. And of course, back then I knew nothing compared to now, and now I probably know nothing compared to the future. You know what I mean? So yeah, there's that. But yeah, when I was a teenager, I'm thinking like I actually knew something and would be able to fix everything, which I don't think I did back then. I think I have a better grasp of things now. Obviously, I'm a lot older, like 8 years older than back then. And yeah, I can't believe I thought I would have. So I don't know if 8 years from now I'm going to feel the same way, like, what was I thinking back then? Who knows what's going to happen? But I do feel like where I'm at now is a lot more coherent and concrete. I think it makes sense. So I feel fairly confident about that, but not in a blind or arrogant way that I did when I was a teenager. But again, that's not to say that I think in years I will have more refined comprehension of things. But I don't know. I guess I do feel like there's just a certain lack of control with a lot of these things. I just don't know what I could do to prevent or solve what's happening. Me as one person, I think there are societal level issues at play. And what I mean by that is, even if I just can't see how I could change the Overton window that much. And you also have the flaw of voters and not really voting in their self-interest. I truly think that issue is only going to get worse. I mean, there was kind of this impression for a while that my generation was going to be extra informed because of the internet, and some of us are. Some of us are more politically informed, but I wouldn't even say most of us. I wouldn't say most of us, and that's because there is still large swaths of our generation that are completely out of it. And that's the whole defining feature of Gen Z, is it's extremely polarized. Again, inequality has been exaggerated in our generation. You have some people who are just going crazy and good. I mean, better than our parents were. I think at this point, I'm potentially an example of that, where I don't believe that my dad worked 50 some hours when I was his age. I've done more difficult things, I believe, than he did. And even with my comprehension of health, I probably was healthier too. So there are some of us who are over, and again, what I'm doing too with the work and the show on top of that, maintaining it. I mean, I was in a slump, but I think I was just having to get back in the groove of things. It's very difficult for me to leave a routine and then have to reinitiate the routine. So that's just a common issue for me. But I don't know, I feel like I had some pretty profound thoughts yesterday, and I don't know. Things are feeling pretty good. But I know that there's a lot of pain, and I don't want to. I mean, it's nice that I'm one of the people who will presumably make it out. But it's also not nice. I mean, because I'm cognizant of that. I'm not, and I don't know what can be done about it, though. Because that's the ethical conundrum of what do you do as things continue to progress and humans are not needed as much. And it's going to start with people on the lower IQ. And again, and I was explaining yesterday, it's not even just low IQ, because there could be some people with higher IQs. It's people who are specifically good at understanding language, words, communication, and numbers, which I do happen to have a pretty good mix of. Yeah. So I do happen to have a pretty good mix of, and that's all there really is to that. I don't know. So I was a little distracted. I wanted, there's two ways of looking at it. I want to be more relaxed about my driving, because a lot of times I get pretty upset over people because of how aggressive they drive, but I think it would be better or within my best interest to just be chill, but at the same time it's relevant to be aware of my surroundings, so I don't want to say that and then just be oblivious and in a cloud or something, because that's not really any good. Now I kind of forget what I was talking about, but I guess we'll try to get back into it. I believe I was talking about it's not just smart people, because there's going to be a lot of smart people left in the dust, I think. It has to be tech savvy people, but again, people who have a profound or a higher level of language comprehension too. And that's an important thing, because there's a lot of people who are either good with language, but then they're not good with numbers. They're good with numbers, but they're not really good with language. There's a lot of people like that. And so I think I have a pretty good balanced, broad mix for the future traits that are going to matter, the knowledge that will matter. And a lot of my weaknesses, I think, get made up for in the new AI system. So, I guess it's fortunate for me, but a lot of people are just not going to be useful anymore. And again, it gets complicated, because even if America was warmer and more human about these issues, then what about other countries? And are they just going to exploit it and then get further ahead of us and then eventually be able to take us over? You know what I'm saying? So there's always something. I'm not really sure what's going on, but there could be traffic jam. That is not good. Yeah, so we're not making good time. I honestly think the time I leave is so pivotal, because it's basically right when the jams start. But I don't know how this kind of stuff happens unless there's an accident somewhere or something, because there's no excuse for it. But it's not good. It's not good for me, because I end up losing a lot of money. But I guess another way to look at it is maybe it didn't matter that I got out late. Or maybe it did. Maybe I'm being purposely delayed. I'm not too sure. Well, we try to make the most of it, right? We try to make the most of it. I almost could have just ruined the recording, but I don't think I did. I also don't know how it's possible, but it seems like the recording is better on this phone, so I guess I will listen for that, but I don't know how I will. Yeah, and I also got to consider because I could have another phone doing the GPS. It just drains a lot of battery. Because I could go the other way if there's more traffic this way. I don't know. Not sure. Not sure really what I'm supposed to do. And now there's a bunch of people not... I actually don't even know how I'm going to get out. A kind truck. A kind truck. Okay. So, yeah, it does look like there's a pretty bad jam. Which, very strange, but we were going to make horrible time anyways, so I don't, what else is new? I still think it's very, again, there were never jams. I actually don't remember any during the time I wasn't recording. I don't remember any jams. Sorry, for some reason I just feel like I forgot my lunch, but I definitely don't think I did, because it was pretty heavy, so I do that a lot. I do that pretty often. Let me try to lock back in. Sorry, it's just so much distraction going on with the driving. So much. So we're talking, yeah, I'm in the future now, and then this is the thing, there are a lot of people who are tech savvy or computer savvy, but they're not really that effective as people. And I don't know that the government would really want those kind of people either. Right? Because there's a lot of them who are maybe not that socially dynamic. They're not good at presenting themselves or speaking. And the problem with me is I always kind of try to say I'm a bit of a fake nerd, because I don't actually know how to code. I don't actually know a lot of computery stuff, even though I'm good with it and use it a lot. Sorry, focusing on driving. I don't know. It's getting kind of weird because of how everything is. I don't know. Lots of traffic. Anyways, where was I? Plus, I'm getting tired too. Really throws you out of whack when this happens. Sorry, I'm zoning out right now. This is not good. I should not be doing that. Yeah, I have no idea what could have. I just don't know. This is bad. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm like really dissociating a lot right now. I don't know what's going on with me. All right. Yeah, I just don't know. I just feel like just like shutting off. Anyways, let me try to finish what I was saying. It's going to be I actually think it's going to be interesting to hear that section back of the recorder. I don't know how it sounds, but it feels weird to me. Dissociation recorded, right? Isn't that a kind of an interesting concept, interesting thing? So, yeah, I think a lot of people, because I've known people who know about coding or are more computer savvy, but some of them are like they sleep too much, their sleep schedule's all over the place, they're not really well-rounded people. And not to say I don't think I'm that well-rounded, but the thing is that I'm able to hold a very stable schedule, which is super valuable. And the other thing, too, is a lot of the technical prowess, such as coding and executing these things, an AI is going to be able to do very well. So people who have the technical or behind-the-scenes skills with these things, their skills are not going to be as relevant. Because the AI is going to be able to do them faster and better at some point. And that's just how it will be. I don't know how else to say it, but that's just how it will be. So I don't know. I think that's all that really. Well, no, I could be doing a better job of explaining, but like I said, I don't know. I guess I'm still mentally in somewhat of a fragile state. I have been, and I'm recovering a little bit. Like yesterday's episode, I thought was good. And then today's episode I thought was pretty good. But I'm not completely there yet. Obviously. I'm just not. And I was doing really well, but getting hit with this traffic jam, I don't know. It's really throwing me off. So I'm trying my best, but I know I kind of like messed up this episode a little bit. I guess it's learning though, right? It's you have to be able to overcome these things. You can't I can't just stop recording and scrap it because something like this happened. I can't do that. I have to learn to be able to continue to persevere through the lowest, right? And then when things are good, it'll be that much better. That's how you have to think of it, I guess. That's just all you can do. It's all that can be done. But people's skill sets who matter, it's just going to change so much because of AI. And like I said, I guess my opinion's changing about it, where I just can't see how it won't end up that way. And more people are ignorant too. That's the thing. You still have a lot of smart people, but I think they end up just, I don't even know, like getting into video games and stuff like that. And that inevitably takes a lot of time away from things they could have been productive in. At least I think. I mean, some people may say that doesn't really matter, and maybe certain video games cultivate or increase intelligence, but I think at the end of the day, a lot of these games that are really nerdy and complicated, they do take up a lot of people's time, and they don't improve ignorance. Because that's the problem, is it's how well do you understand the world around you? How active are you in trying to mitigate issues? Vote for the right candidates, but more importantly than just vote, like, there's so much stuff that could be done to fix things. I find it very difficult to believe that spending time playing a lot of video games is really all that relevant or useful. That's the thing that I don't know, I don't think there's much justification for. I could be wrong, though. I mean, I suppose sometimes video games can help to cultivate intelligence or whatever. I don't want to act like I even know 100%, because a lot of this stuff I'm trying to... I mean, I have takes on things now, but I do want to refine them further. I think a lot of times it can depends on how much of a balance there is and things like that. But it gets a little bit confusing, I think. But again, I do think as a general rule of thumb, the video game thing is pretty relevant, because obviously if you play hours of some really complicated game, that same nerdiness could be applied to something real and tangible, and a video game is not real nor tangible, and that's kind of the whole problem. Well, it's tangible, and it's real. That's just me kind of autopiloting there. Video games are real, but it's an environment that's not very relevant. It's only relevant if other people like the game, and then let's say culture shifts and now people don't have long attention spans anymore, and now the game that you put so much effort into just becomes completely irrelevant, because now less people play it. It doesn't have enough memberships or subscriptions. So then what happens, Just out of luck, really. And then the game will eventually go out of business and be lost to the sands of time. And I even on actually a better example of the concept I'm trying to explain, a lot of these competitive games like Overwatch or... Yeah, probably Overwatch is a good example. I've never really played it very much, but I know people who play it. You get good at the game and get used to certain rules and such, and then they push updates that change a lot of the mechanics. Right? So then what? Now you learned how to play a game a certain way, and then it's updated, and the way you knew how to play it is not, it's no more. What do you do in that situation? You know what I mean? It's interesting to try to figure that out. Right? Because you try... You try things and you try to figure out what's best or whatever. But then they update things and change the rules on you. You know, it's not very fun of an experience. I don't think that was really something that was too crazy before. Like, it wasn't as common of a problem. But anyways, it's time for the TLDR Wit SLA. So today I think we talked about some things. As usual, we talk about some things. I don't know exactly what. It was like, nah, I can't do it today. I can't do TLDR Wit SLA today. I don't feel like it. Alright, guys. Thanks for watching. See you next time. SLA out.